Hello everyone. Today we are releasing our Optic add-on for Blender. And so I just want to go through it with you, show you what we tried to do, show you some features and overall what we worked on during the last month. Before that, we also have some minor updates on the website itself, on the webUI. So let's just check those first. The first thing we added is that now refining an image is actually added to the timeline, so you can easily just switch between your previous generations and the refinement, so that it's the same as if it was a generation basically. And this was a bit confusing for some people, and it just makes so much more sense that it's like that. Another one that we removed or that we changed is that the generative brush is not on by default. You can switch it on with this toggle, but basically this means that you can now just do right click and save image if you want, and you don't always have this cursor that will paint something under your mouse. And also we added here the close button. Sometimes was a bit too abrupt, so we added a confirmation so that if you don't actually want to kill the image, you can still back down on it and just not do it. And there's a timer, so it just fades away after some seconds. So those are minor fixes, and you may notice also that there's these two buttons for the Blender plugin. So we did this extension, this add-on that I will present right after. The only thing is that recently Blender switched from the usual add-on format that they had to now extensions with 4.2. So there are two different ones depending on which version of Blender you're using. If you're using 4.1, you should use the add-on version. If you're on 4.2 and over that, then it should be the extension. So yeah, you can download it from there, but we also created a Gumroad page so that you can have a bit of information on the add-on itself. And here, same, you have the two different versions. Here it's not published yet, but you can see that, yeah, you can get it from there. It doesn't cost anything because this is just the add-on. So you still need to have a valid subscription to be able to use the service, because we are providing the computing, we are doing all the training, etc. But the add-on itself, it doesn't really matter. You can just have it, and until you're subscribed, you cannot do much with it anyway. But so let's see what this add-on is about. So here I am in Blender, and this is basically a very fast model. I did just in I don't know, an hour or two from a Gravity Sketch VR sketch that was done by Essa. And so I just modeled basically the volume and the rough shapes. There's no development that went into it. And in this case, it doesn't matter at all. Like, you can really have terrible topology. It doesn't really matter. What you want is just to have the overall volume and the shape so that you can start rendering and iterating on it. I'm using all kinds of stuff I don't like to use, like crease edges and stuff like that. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. We just want to have the volume here. That's the sketch that we are hiding in this case. And basically what you will see is that here, once you install whether the extension or the add-on, you will have a panel that appears that says Optic. And so the first thing that this will ask you is to log in. So if you click it, it will go on the website, and then you can just click login, pick the account you want, your Google account. And if you're subscribed, it should show this. And so if you just go back to Blender, then you will see that it greets you, or at least tells you which model you're using, and then gives you the option to log out or to go on Discord, where we have basically a group where you can contact us directly. If you see any trouble or you have any questions, you can just go there, and we will be able to help you. And so let's just put one quick shader on the car. Let's just take a car paint. I don't know, some gray here. Yes, good. Let's just make it slightly lighter. Um, Good. And here we will just use like the default HDRIs and everything. The goal is to show you that you don't need much to actually get to start using Optic directly from your scene. Even if you didn't have time to set it up or anything, it doesn't matter. So let's just add a plane just so that we have some kind of ground. So let's put that there, scaling it up to infinity. We'll just add some kind of shader to it, a bit of metallic, less roughness, just to have a ground, basically, just something that that looks a bit better for our car. Yeah, that's good. And so the principle of how it works is basically based on viewpoints. So you can set a view that you would want to render, and from there you'll be able to generate with Optic. So if you see here, you have viewpoints, and you can just create a new view. This will create a camera, and you can see the border is orange because it basically puts a plane that will be the canvas on which the generation will happen. And everything you see behind, like in this frame, is what you will be generating on. And so it's exactly what you see. Like even if there are overlays and everything, you will see them in the generation. So right now it's not really well placed. We created some pie menus, so like marking menus in Blender, so that you can do most of the operations with Optic directly in there. So if you press D in object mode, then you can say, for instance, lock camera to view, and this gives you an opportunity to pick a better framing, basically. So yeah, this should be fine. And now I can untick it and go, like I can remove the overlays, otherwise they will show. And yeah, let's just generate, let's just give it a go. So the first step is that it just takes this screenshot and nothing really happens, but then you get this darkened out window, and then it tells you which step it is in the process, basically. And so it's just generating from what we fed it. And that's what we get first. And so here you will be able to see all the generations stacking up so that you can always go back from one to another. And in this case, if you don't like it, you can just clear the view and then generate again. And it will go through the same process. And this time it will also do it on top of, again, just the model, because there was nothing more. But if we didn't clear the view, then it would generate on top of what you see here. So here, for instance, if I just click generate again, since I didn't clear the view, it will just take the previous generation as the base to do another pass on it, basically. Good. In this case, there's a lot of bloom. I think we can just get rid of it here. The problem in some cases is that everything that Blender does on top of your viewport will also happen on top of whatever you generated. So if you have compositor or if you have bloom, things like this, it could show. And so if the result just looks weirdly presented, think that it could be something you changed before, like a setting you tweaked. And that could bring, like the bloom, it could bring a different look to it. So here we have our 3 generations. They're all a bit different. The idea is that the base settings are good enough for you to start like right off the bat, and you don't need to tweak around too much. But let's go through the other stuff. So there's all the ones that you know. So model influence, shape control, those are to change how much it should adhere to your existing shapes and how much freedom the model has. You have the inspiration image, which we'll use later. You have the refine button if you're happy with the result, but you just want it a bit more crisp and like bigger image. The clear view we talked about. The pin is a way that you can, if you click it, it will basically put a highlight here. So this one you can move around. It doesn't matter. You can even delete it or bring it back. It doesn't change much. It will always recreate it, and it shows every time what you have in the viewpoint that you decided to pin. And so this is just to give you a reference if you think like, oh, there's actually something interesting in what I just generated. Let me just use that to model more on my on my model. Let's just go further. Let's use the same shapes as what I used so in the generation. Let's just destroy this guy and let's go back. So with D again, you can access to um, most of the action. So even going back into a viewpoint or something like this. And then we have the folder, which is basically where everything gets saved. So all the images that you do are being saved here. And this is per file. So if you didn't save the file, it will save it as a temporary folder that will get destroyed at some point. If you already have your file saved somewhere, then it will put all the images there. So then we have the viewpoint settings. Let's just clear the view for this one. View opacity is basically, actually, let's just go back to this one. I can change how much, well, opacity there is for what you just generated or your viewpoint overall. Then you can change the aspect ratio and like whether it's vertical or horizontal, you can change just the framing basically of your window. If you do changes after you generated something, it will suffer from it a bit, like if things just get stretched. So just remember to do these kind of tweaks beforehand. But yeah, there's nothing, like you can always just get the image from the folder that we just saw, so it's not too much of a problem. You can also change the focal length. That's just if you want specific settings for your camera, basically. And then another one we have is the 2D editor. So if you go in there, which you can also access from D here. So yeah, here you have most of the settings. You just have a bit more visibility questions here. But so if we go to edit view, then you enter like the texture painting, as you can see there. And so if you press D again, this will be a different menu. And here basically, as you can see, there's a layer. And so you can paint directly inside of Blender. You can paint on your model if you want to fix something or add something, like if you would want to add a spoiler in the rear. Just having the rough outline of it could let the model understand that you want a spoiler there. You can toggle the eraser if you want to remove what you did. And we created a whole layer system, so you can actually, actually, if I just show you here, if I just paint something on this one, I create a new layer, I paint something on this one, then they are independent and I can just hide one of them or show it, which means that you can also erase just one of the two. If we just go there, oops, one. Yeah, we can just erase here. Yeah, and so that can be practical. It's not perfect in the sense that sometimes the shader has to re-update, and that's why you see this white screen, but it can really help you just tweaking some stuff or giving some direction to Optic so that it knows where it should go next, basically. Good. Let's just go back to this one so that we don't have those layers. Yeah, and so we have a few different tools that go with that. You can tweak the brush the same way you do it in Photoshop. So you can go sideways for the size and up and down for how soft it is. You also have an eyedropper. Once again, this one is quite dependent on your settings. So sometimes if you have like different color management and everything, it could give colors that are not corresponding to where you picked, unless you're in standard mode. But yeah, at least it should help you with quite a few cases. You can change the brush color by hand, the strength, you have the layers here. And if you press escape or if you do exit edit, then you just go back to the normal mode. And then we have the lenses. So in this case, I just have a exige lens that I did because this is some kind of a lotus. And so, yeah, you can just retrieve all the lenses that you have from the webUI to here. And if you click manage lenses, then it will take you to the webUI, and then you can create new lenses or remove some, anything. You can just do that directly from there, but you will be able to retrieve them here. So yeah, in this case, let's just see, let's say that we want to use an inspiration image. So let's just delete everything. Let's bring in an inspiration image. So we can put something quite abstract. In this case, let's take this one. We can put the shape control up to 1 if we want, because the shape is kind of defined. You can give it more freedom if you want, but let's just try with this and let's see where it takes us. Okay, pretty good. Let's try it again, but this time we will put a bit of the lens. So I just took some exige, mainly S1, just to put together some kind of a lens, just to give some more context on what I'm trying to generate, basically. And that's something you can do between inspiration image and lenses, just trying to see what makes the biggest difference and what gets you closer to the results you're looking for, basically. Inspiration image is just easier to switch around and use different ones. Lenses takes a bit more time to curate a nice selection and train them. But yeah, both are really, really important in generating cool results. And you can see that even though we are using one of the default boring HDRI from Blender, it actually changes completely the reflections on top and just does something corresponding to whatever is behind. In this case, we have something abstract, so it gives this kind of a bit artsy feeling to it. But let's just take something else. For instance, one of these Aston Martin ones. So this is based on the other project that we did. So let's take this, for instance, which was itself done with inspiration image, actually. I'll drop this one a bit, and yeah, let's just see where it takes us. As you can see, the result is completely different. But it's a really, using inspiration images like that is a really nice way to just create very simply some kind of environment around your object, because in this case, we just have this unlimited plane, or at least big plane, and it just comes up with some shadows and some building in the background, some grass there. Also stuff like inside of the cabin, we don't have anything in there. We just have some kind of completely opaque black material, but it understands that this should be some kind of DLO, so it's just bringing in some transparency in there. I just want to see if we can get something a bit different. Let's just remove some shape control, give a bit more influence. Yeah, and let's see where we get with that. Yeah, so here again, it's actually similar type of result. This kind of like concrete and everything. Let's just pick another view. So we are not locked to the camera. So if you just escape and come to like a front view, we can just press D and then create a new view. The framing is not so good, so let's just fix that here. Or should we? No, that should be good. Okay. We'll lock it again, otherwise you just move around and it's not so nice. And we will use another inspiration image, this one, which we also generated from Optic. And in this case, since it's red, you would actually want to change the color of the car to match. That's just because otherwise you end up with an in-between type of shade, and it doesn't add so much, doesn't bring so much. So yeah, it's just nicer to do it like this. And we can give a bit less, yeah, shape control, some model influence. We'll keep that, some inspiration influence as well. And let's just see what we get with that. So that's quite a big front splitter. Let's just see if we can get another result, just to try again. Okay, not too bad. In this case, you can just go in edit view and make sure that you're painting. And let's say we want to take here this color. and we just erase a bit of the front. Otherwise, it was making this massive splitter. So let's just get something a bit more reasonable. Is it too reasonable, maybe? Yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah. Here, it can just be a bit rough. It doesn't matter if it's really, really clean. This was a bit unnecessary, actually. So let's just generate this one. And so here, even though you see the previous generation behind this darkened out area, we are still generating on anything that was visible before. So in our case, the generation plus a bit of painting on top. So don't be afraid if you see that, it won't generate just from it. Okay, it went even crazier. Let's just go back to this previous generation. And let's just give it more shape control and less inspiration influence. Let's see. Yeah, that's better. So we went through most of it. I just want to show you that if you just exit here, you will see your viewpoints just floating around. And so if you click on one and then you press D, or if you see here on the panel on the side, you will be able to do pick view, and this will bring you back within this view. And as soon as you exit, the menus change back to this one, so then you can do again pick view, and this always brings you back to everything you had. So in this case, for instance, you have access to your to the layers where you did the painting and everything for each generation. So you can always come back to a previous generation that you liked, and you had already different stuff going on, and you just want to tweak it slightly. And you can have, yeah, just a lot of viewpoints. If you have too many viewpoints, actually, you can do here untoggle the show viewpoints, and only this viewpoint will be visible. You won't be able to see the other ones, because otherwise, when you generate and you have a lot of those floating around, they can just create just smaller version of cars and stuff floating, which is not necessarily the best. So it's just, if you want, you can disable it and just bring them back. Yeah, and that's about it for what we tried to do with this first version. We put a lot of effort and time just bringing features in there. There was a lot of things that we had to come up with, and putting some systems together. So we're really curious to let you try that and get your feedback on it. What do you think? What works? What doesn't? So that we can just make it better with the iterations. And we're really excited about this. Like, we're big believers in Blender, and we're trying to push Optic as much as we can. So really interested to see the value you get from that, and get your opinion on it. We have some more news coming very soon, good news. So yeah, just stay tuned for that, because I think it will be interesting. And yeah, see you in the next one.